Shahed drones and ballistic missiles striking Kyiv in Ukraine all of last night, one of the biggest assaults yet on Kyiv by Russia, multiple other cities being hit by ballistic missiles and drones as well. Donald Trump promised there would be peace in Ukraine in 24 hours if he was elected. Yet another lie by Donald Trump, right? He also promised that he would bring down prices in 24 hours. Yet another lie by Donald Trump. Just take a look at your grocery store. Folgers coffee last month, $12.99. This month, $19.72. And goods across the board are more expensive based on Donald Trump's failed trade war against the world. Even in Fox's latest poll, Donald Trump's approval when it comes to inflation is down to 36%. As Spencer Akimian writes, Rupert Murdoch is going to get himself another lawsuit for publishing this data, isn't he? And while all of this is going on, as Donald Trump's breaking this promise and that promise, he's making posts like this. This is what he posted yesterday. It's time to indict Obama, the traitor, for treason. You know how that makes our country look, where you have someone like Donald Trump using his official presidential account to accuse a former president of treason and say Obama needs to be arrested? Or you know how weak and pathetic it looks when Donald Trump gives an interview and says, oh, I know I said I would bring peace to Ukraine in 24 hours, but I was just being sarcastic. It was one big joke. No one actually took me seriously. I'm a comedian. I was being funny. That's what Donald Trump had said recently. Here, play this clip.
I'm not understating the complexity of all this, but as a candidate, you said you would have this war settled in 24 hours.
Well, I was being a little bit sarcastic when I said that. What I really mean is I'd like to get it settled.
No, people do take you seriously. Here's what it looked like if you were living in Kyiv last night. Here, play this clip. And here's what it looked like if you were trying to escape the attacks from Russia and you were outside and you were trying to take shelter from the massive Russian drone attack. Here, play this clip. Yeah, Donald, this is the real world. Okay, none of this is funny. I mean, your job as the commander-in-chief and president of the United States, as sickening it is to me for you to hold that position, is to, at a bare minimum, behave like a freaking adult. Here's what it looked like in Kyiv and cities across Ukraine last night again, as anti-aircraft and anti-drone missiles were shooting at these Shahed drones of Ukraine and ballistic missiles, as Donald Trump has also deprived Ukraine of critical weapons. Here, play this clip. You can't even stay awake, Donald. You can't even stay awake. You are so sickly and weak and addled and pathetic. You can't even stay awake. Here you are next to Dr. Oz. Like, why the hell is Dr. Oz in our government at all? And you can't stay awake as you're lying about lowering healthcare costs. You know how I know you're lying about lowering healthcare costs? Because you lie about everything. But I remember the post distinctly last May when you said to everybody, prices will go down immediately. I'm doing something called MFN, Most Favored Nations, meaning America's healthcare costs of any prescription drug will now be the same cost that the pharmaceutical company sells to any country abroad. So whatever the lowest price is in whatever country, that's the price the pharmaceutical companies will have to make their product in the United States. By the way, if you did that, that would be great. But like all of your deals, it's a lie. There's no most favored nation clause. Pharmaceutical companies didn't do that. And here you are at this healthcare conference with Dr. Oz, like sleeping. Here, play this clip.
A fraud war room using this kind of technology, because we'll know who you are and who your doctor is. We can block this. We're going to have remarkable advances in how consumers can use their own records. We'll have beneficiaries be able to get MAHA advice.
And speaking of the Trump lies, here he is in an interview he gave yesterday also, saying that prices are down, everything is down, inflation is defeated. Here, play this clip.
You know, if you think Inflation, I've already taken care of. Prices are way down for everything, groceries, everything.
Okay, inflation is not defeated. But what Donald Trump is doing and what the regime is doing, they are getting rid of the data that goes into CPI, the Consumer Price Index, because if you don't do the testing, if you don't put in the data, in this case, the data into CPI, Consumer Price Index, how do you determine inflation if the prices are going up or down? So the Trump regime is now just estimating what the inflation is. And I believe, just like with Donald Trump's job numbers, when it miraculously went from losing like 60,000 or 70,000 private sector jobs to gaining 147,000 jobs with government jobs like in a matter of 48 hours, call me crazy here, but I think the fraud and the criminal is behaving like a fraud and a criminal. Speaking of which, Donald Trump attacked MAGA Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri at first because Hawley introduced a bill in the committee that he was in that banned stock trading among senators, House members, and it applied to the president and vice president as well. And Donald Trump said, he's a second-tier senator. Don't you dare do that. So then Hawley said, all right. What if I exempt the president and the vice president for now, but future presidents and vice presidents will be subject. But Trump will let you grift away. And Donald Trump's like, okay, I like that. And then Hawley changed the bill so that it now exempts Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and they can engage in shady dealing. Here's MAGA Republican Senator Rick Scott from Florida, who was involved in the largest Medicaid fraud scam in American history at the time. That's how he got rich. Criminally prosecuted. He invoked the Fifth Amendment like hundreds of times. That's a pattern with these MAGA Republicans. This guy got rich. You want to know where waste, fraud, abuse, and criming is? This guy who invoked the Fifth for Medicaid and Medicare fraud when he ran his company, then got the golden parachute and left after the criminal prosecution, and then parlayed that into a political career. Here's Tim Scott, utterly pathetic human being. Here, play this clip.
So this idea that we're going to attack people because they make money is wrong. Is absolutely wrong. We should cherish all of our different backgrounds. Every one of us has a different background. I've got a business background. But what I was just accused of is making money, and somehow I can't be fair and do things the right way. So I think it's disgusting what is going on.
And again, speaking of Donald Trump just being so cognitively addled, Donald Trump can't even get his conspiracy theory straight. So a big push yesterday for the Trump regime, that's why ostensibly Trump was posting those things about Obama, is that there were burn bags. This is what they like the word burn bags. Like, what a crazy word. That the Obama administration had burn bags where they were getting rid of the evidence that they were trying to frame Donald Trump for Russia. And they were in burn bags, and Kash Patel, the FBI director, he found it in a secret room in the FBI, and he found secret burn bags. And the reporter asked Donald, they're all making this stuff up. He's trying to hide his relationship with Epstein and the disaster is raining on the economy. But Trump's asked about it. So what's up with these burn bags? And Trump's like, what? Burn what? Burn bags? Here, play this clip.
Kash Patel reportedly found burn bags of Russiagate materials, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
He said what?
Burn bags of Russiagate materials that the guy supposedly found.
I don't know that. I don't know what you mean by that statement. Say
bags full of Russiagate documents.
A burn bag. I thought you said appointed a man named Burn Bag. Go ahead. You got to speak up.
Thousands of documents in these bags, supposedly burn bags.
So then Donald Trump announced yesterday a purported trade deal with South Korea. And according to Donald Trump, South Korea is going to turn over 24.1% of its entire GDP to the United States. I'm sure that's going to happen. He goes 15% tariffs, and they're going to give $450 billion to the United States, and we're going to direct where that money goes. South Korea's entire GDP is $1.1 trillion. They're not giving $450 billion to the United States. Same thing, Japan, $550 billion. Trump goes, it's a signing bonus. Japan says, ain't happening. The European Union, $750 billion. European Union goes, we ain't doing that. We can't give you guarantees. And here's the thing, folks, let me make this very simple. Where's the deal? A social media post is not a deal. Let's just break this down in a very simple way. Trade deals should be on. I saw on CNN, it was one of these like Trump apologists or these propagandists was speaking to one of the people, and was like, well, what do you want to see on the deal? What do you want to see on the deal? You know what I want to see on the deal? I want to see the deal. Okay, let's start with the deal. I would like to see a piece of paper, the way deals happen in the world, with bullet points that describe what's happening, that's signed by a party and signed by another party. What a novel concept, signatures, that is binding. I'd like to see that. Because right now, these fake deals are screwing everybody and no one has any certainty. Look at Ford's profits wiped out by tariffs. Ford's reporting a net loss of $29 million last quarter, compared with $1.8 billion in net income a year ago, after being hit by more than $800 million from Trump's tariffs. Despite the fact that Ford manufactures most of its vehicles in the U.S., the company relies on parts imported from outside of the country and was also hit hard by new fees on steel and aluminum. So even Donald Trump's fake deals benefit car manufacturers in Japan and in the UK more than American manufacturers who need to get the parts from outside, whereas UK and Japan, if it's truly 15%, they could actually export their goods here and the tariff is only 15%. So, and then Donald Trump announced, I'm imposing 50% tariffs on Brazil and I am placing sanctions on the judge overseeing President Jair Bolsonaro's case. The insurrectionist in Brazil, because the Brazil government and judiciary is actually functioning, they're prosecuting their former president who engaged in a coup and insurrection to try to kill people in the government. What frankly our Department of Justice should have done with Donald Trump. But Donald Trump saying now it's 50%. Okay, well, as Spencer Akimian says, okay, so coffee, beef, sugar, oranges, iron, soy, and more. Fantastic. Everybody enjoy your trips to Walmart. Let me just leave you with this right here. This is Chairman Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve. He explains what's going on. Here, play this clip.
Total PCE prices rose 2.5% over the 12 months ending in June, and that, excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 2.7%. These readings are little changed from the beginning of the year, although the underlying composition of price changes has shifted. Services inflation has continued to ease, while increased tariffs are pushing up prices in some categories of goods. Near-term measures of inflation expectations have moved up on balance over the course of this year on news about tariffs, as reflected in both market-based and survey-based measures.
And he explains it again right here. Play this clip.
Given the lags between when tariffs are announced and when they show up in goods prices, is 2 months a long enough horizon to evaluate the impact and be confident that tariffs aren't impacting the broader inflation process?
I think you have to think of this as still quite early days. And so I think what we're seeing now is substantial amounts of tariff revenue being collected on the order of $30 billion a month, which is substantially higher than before. And the evidence seems to be mostly not paid only to a small extent through exporters lowering their price, and companies or retailers, sort of people who are upstream, institutions that are upstream from the consumer, are paying most of this for now. It's starting to show up in consumer prices, as you know, in the June report. We expect to see more of that. And we know from surveys that companies feel that they have every intention of putting this through to the consumer, but the truth is they may not be able to in many cases. So I think we're just going to have to watch and learn empirically how much of this and over what period of time. I think we've learned that the process will probably be slower than expected at the beginning, but we never expected it to be fast. We think we have a long way to go to really understand exactly how it will be. So that's how we're thinking of it right now.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers, and thanks for watching. New Midas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.